Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first Geekkast podcast. My name is Greg St. Clair,
Dan Whitehead.
and we are talking about everything pop culture, from movies to music. And one of the first things we're going to talk about, Dan and I are big superhero guys, so we're going to discuss the Avengers 2 movie that came out last month. Now, personally, Dan, I don't know how you felt, but I thought it wasn't a huge cinematic event per
No.
se, but it was just a movie to kind of just like carry on the story of the Avengers. What do you think?
I think, looking at it, it seems like it was one of those kind of movies where, oh, well, it's been 3 years. Let's do another Avengers movie. It's not going to be huge, but we need to, like you kind of alluded to, we need to build to Civil War. I think Civil War is the bigger piece. Is that in itself.
War.
And Infinity War, they're almost like, Civil War is almost like Avengers Part 3 in a way because of how many characters are going to be there. We don't want to get into Civil War too much just yet, but as far as Avengers, I thought it had good moments, and I thought the characters were good, and it was interesting to move them along and that kind of thing, and Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver coming in were great. And by the way, we're going to be huge spoilers on this stuff, so if you haven't seen the movie yet or anything we talk about, make sure you go out and do that, because how dare you. But we're not going to, hold back on saying like, oh, this character, we're going to just go out and say it. So, for example, like when Quicksilver dies at the end, I actually thought he was going to be around a lot longer. I thought it was interesting that they kind of killed him off right there.
I thought it was interesting because they had that whole reincarnation thing, or kind of the similar thing with Jarvis, in a way where they kind of brought him into Vision. I thought that was going to be the main thing that was going to happen. Or no, sorry, it wasn't that. It was the tissue rebuilder that Stark Industries had with that Korean lady. I thought that was going to be the revival at that point, but they talked about it. And I think the main reason they're not bringing Quicksilver back, which is probably what's happening, is the fact that 20th Century Fox, X-Men, and that Quicksilver character, they're both characters I think were both great. I think they definitely had their own strengths as far as the role goes, but that one, because 20th Century Fox had the first appearance of Quicksilver, that they're allowing 20th Century Fox, Marvel Cinematic Universe, to continue on with that.
I could see that, and I think, that because X-Men did it first, and they did it well, I think Joss Whedon said, you know what, let's just do it, because I think I had heard or read somewhere that they filmed an alternate ending where he does live, and then they were kind of like weren't sure which one they were going to use, and so I think, like I was kind of saying, where they were like, you know what, Quicksilver was really good and well done in X-Men, let's let them have that one.
Yeah.
And so they kind of just like got rid of him, but they did Scarlet Witch so well that they're going to keep her. I mean, no one else is doing Scarlet Witch.
Yeah,
so.
she did a really good job. I'm excited to see throughout the line of the Marvel movies how they develop her character. Because although they gave like a slight backstory to the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, as far as like a personal character goes, there was hints of like a personality, of personal views, but there wasn't enough for me. I need a little bit more than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think of the two though, Scarlet Witch had more room to grow. I feel like Quicksilver was just he runs fast, he's angry, from his parents' death and that kind of thing. I don't think he had much more than that. Scarlet Witch, has more, I think, room to develop into something.
But like I think with both of them, and you definitely saw this in the movie, especially for example, Quicksilver would get tired from running, his stamina, and there were some things that Scarlet Witch, and I can't name a specific thing, but I'm sure there was things that Scarlet Witch, like using her powers, was like trying to work out and try to figure out.
Right.
So I think that there was definitely room to grow as far as their superpower beings. Like there was room to train. There was room to strengthen all their powers. And I was actually looking forward to seeing Quicksilver because he was getting tired, and that's not something you want to see from a dude who's really fast. You want to see him be able to run fast forever. So I was actually looking forward to that, and unfortunately I don't get to see that. But Scarlet Witch, I'm sure she's gonna be able to like control, especially her mind control, and convince people what to do. I think that is going to further adapt into the later movies, and she's going to be able to strengthen that power and use that power, not willingly, but smarter, a lot more smarter.
Right.
As far as like combat goes and things like that.
And what did you think of Ultron?
So, I wasn't the Ultron I saw in the movie is not exactly what I expected, personally.
Right.
Like they cast like James Spader, like yes, James Spader, like he's got, I could see the voice totally, the personality, yes. I know it's a Joss Whedon film. I know Joss Whedon films, they're laid back, they're funny, they're goofy, there's good humor in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought the actual character of Ultron just there was no development. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They really treated him like a throwaway villain, and you spoke his monologue, his motive for what he's doing. You know, yada yada yada, blah blah blah.
Right.
But at the same time, it's just I wasn't emotionally attached to the villain, and I like doing that in movies, getting kind of attached to the villain, because like for example, like the Dark Knight trilogy, with especially like Joker and like Bane, like you could relate to what they were doing, you could like feel what they were feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But for Ultron, I just didn't feel that. I don't know what you thought about it, but that's what I thought.
I just thought he was too silly
Mm-hmm.
for and the movie itself seemed like they took a little bit more darker approach to it than the original Avengers and past.
I would agree with that, as far as violence.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like the dialogue,
Yeah,
I personally feel like there were way too many jokes.
I agree. I mean,
We've had this conversation.
yeah, we've talked about off mic about the use of jokes and how the old rule of you should use them 3 times, and they were doing that whole thing of cursing and Captain America getting mad about it.
Yeah.
They were almost like just beating that dead horse,
Yeah.
with that joke, and it's kind of like, all right, he doesn't like cursing on the job, blah blah blah.
And there were some other things like Tony Stark's a funny character, is very sarcastic, likes to crack a lot of jokes. The one joke I thought was funny because dick jokes are hilarious. But the one where he was like playing Hyde the cucumber, he's talking to Scarlet Witch, I was like, is that like necessary dialogue? Like, did you really have to like put that in the movie? Like, is that really moving the story along? I don't know. There was just some jokes that I just thought were unnecessary, and yeah, that's what I felt.
Now, in a way, do you feel like Marvel might be running out of steam in their movies?
I don't know. I think so with Joss Whedon now out of the picture.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I say I don't love Joss Whedon, I love Joss Whedon, but with him out of the picture and the Russo brothers coming in, I feel like they're coming in with a full head of steam, and I think, although I am concerned for the basic storyline of the Civil War movie, that they're going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to be awful movies at all. I think they're going to be great, very entertaining. You're going to feel a lot of emotion between the heroes, and especially when Infinity War gets on, I'm really excited for Thanos.
Yeah.
But like once like that kind of stuff starts happening, I think they're going to be fine. I really do. I think they're over at MCU. They're smart about what they're doing. They're very arrogant about what they're doing. They're very smart, and I think it's going to play off really well. What do you think?
I think I can agree with that, because I didn't really think of it that way as far as like now that Joss Whedon is passing on the mantle. It's fresh faces in there, like you said. I mean, we only had the Russo brothers for Winter Soldier, which was fantastic. I mean, it was almost like a spy thriller.
Movie of Avengers,
yeah,
by far.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally Captain America is the strongest as far as the solo movies. I think he has the most interesting of the stories. A lot of people like Iron Man, which I understand why. Robert Downey Jr. Is great and everything, but I always felt more entertained by the Captain America movies.
Yeah. And
felt like I was getting more out of it than just the Iron Man movies that were riding the jokes and Tony. And it was mostly just the Robert Downey Jr. show, whereas Captain America was like, let's all work as a team, let's come together. Like, he was more of like a leader, let's rally people.
Right.
Whereas Tony Stark is very like, I'll just do it myself.
Me.
Right, it's all about me.
No, exactly.
And Pepper Potts, of course.
Yes, of course. Now, anyways.
Yeah, but she wasn't even in Avengers 2. They made a couple of mentions of her.
She was at some like conference. I think they couldn't afford it. I think was the thing.
Okay.
Which is the same thing with
Natalie Portman.
Yes.
Well, Natalie Portman really, after the first first Thor, really didn't have a good time doing those movies.
Oh, like Natalie Portman herself?
Yeah, herself.
Really?
Yeah, she didn't. From what I heard, yeah, she really didn't enjoy her time making that movie, and it was kind of like the only reason she was in the second one is because she signed the big contract to be in multi-picture deals, And so they were able to like not have her in Avengers, but of course they needed her in Thor 2
Right.
because she's the love interest. And I would assume she probably would be in 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think that's it from there. So that's why she doesn't appear.
I mean, Thor's probably going to be the character of Thor, or what they're doing with Thor as far as like the relationship between him and Natalie Portman's character. That's probably going to be done.
Yeah.
Anyways, I personally, I know we talked about this in the past of a standalone Hulk movie.
Right.
I'm a huge fan of Hulk. I love all of the Planet Hulk, Planet Scar, and World War Hulk. I think those are great stories. I think done well. And I think that whoever, like the Russo brothers, whoever MCU finds, if they want to find somebody, I think this movie could be really well because Hulk is just he's such a complex character. Like there's so many different things. Like for one, I don't know if you guys have known this, but there's different stages of anger with Hulk, and like the main stage that everybody sees is where he's just angry, can't really speak, and just Hulk smash all that such. And then the further levels of anger you go down, he actually can speak fine. He's actually brilliant, and he can control his anger, and it's just pretty much him being the being of Hulk.
Right.
And I think they kind of do that in a little bit Avengers 2 and Avengers 1, where Hulk is like consciously knowing what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there's just so much more to do if they talked about the complexity of the actual Hulk character.
Well, I found out recently that I always thought it was because he's co-owned by Universal Pictures, and so they didn't want Marvel, that is, didn't want to do another movie and then have to share the money kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But from what I understand, it's actually because Hulk just isn't pulling in the money that they needed. Captain America, Iron Man, Avengers, of course, all those movies, Thor even, are pulling in upwards of 800 million. He's only pulling in 200 million.
Well, I'm not disrespecting the previous Hulk movies, but it's basically what I said. They only show the side where he's super angry, can't really communicate, doesn't know what's going on. It's just constant rage. And I think if they take it to a different approach, like I was saying, as far as like the different anger, like a Planet Hulk movie, where they talk about the storyline of the Illuminati sending Hulk off the planet because he's too destructive, and landing on Planet Hulk and fighting his way. That movie itself, it'd be very similar to Gladiator, in a way, because the way it happens is he's put in like this Coliseum, kind of put into slavery, and he pretty much beats his way out of slavery and becomes like king of Planet Hulk.
Right.
And I think that movie itself, especially if they like kind of adapted the story or the actual book, that would do well. That would do so well because they're showing the audience and the world a different side of Hulk, not just Hulk smashed or stuff.
I just think that Marvel doesn't have faith in its property anymore as far as the Hulk,
which is upsetting because it's actually it's really, really good, and especially like World War Hulk when he comes back and he's out for vengeance and everything. That storyline itself is just it's phenomenal. It's one of the best Marvel books I've read. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It saddens me. Really.
We've talked about many times before how we can't seem to understand why they don't just take the comic and adapt it as it is, because exactly. The material's right there, the dialogue is really right there.
No.
And it's just, I think they're so in need of having to make it their own and original.
It's because society is bashing all of these production companies because nothing's original anymore. And it's true. There's a lot of hit movies out now that are not original. They're
Correct,
based off of books. They're based off of short stories,
remakes,
true events, remakes, exactly. And I think they're just being way too sensitive about that. Mm-hmm. And they need to own the fact that the book I wrote is fucking awesome, and I'm gonna put it on the big screen. It's gonna make me a lot of fucking money, being what it actually is.
Yeah, it's just they're like afraid to try things. I think, and it's because it's all about money. That's the thing, and that's Hollywood for you. Is who can make the biggest paycheck at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Actors, directors are all about that. It's all about let's make a big money. And so if they're statistically seeing, all right, we're only making 200, 300 grand, or 300 million, excuse me, on Hulk movies when it costs 150 to make.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we going to bother to keep making it? Now, as you're saying, they're just not adapting the right stories,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe if they did, it would work, but they're just not.
Well, I mean, like, they're not necessarily doing that, but you can talk about, like, DC, for example. Like, all their animated movies, pretty much every single one that we've seen together has been, like, word for word from the book.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's been dialogue for dialogue.
One of the best ones I've seen is The Dark Knight Returns. Does that very, very well.
Yeah. And all that kind of, it's pretty much word for word. And
even drawn the same.
Yeah, and the animated movies are great. And obviously, they're animated movies that are making big money.
No.
But this is DC's way of putting what's actually in the books onto into
a screen.
The screen, yeah. Exactly. They're especially with the Batman vs Superman movie coming out. They're kind of doing the whole Dark Knight Returns thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of similar, and they're making it their own. But at the same time, I feel like DC is just a little bit better understanding what they have at times and really trying to put that in the movies. Now, obviously, you have things like Flashpoint and Dark Knight Returns, exactly, where they have these great storylines, like fantastic.
Oh, yeah. And
it's the biggest complaint from DC and Marvel fans alike is that DC just they have material. The material is great, but whatever they put in the big screen, it's just crap.
Mm-hmm.
And the majority of that has been that. Now, I'm personally a fan of the Man of Steel movie. I understand all the script problems.
Right.
Like the longevity of everything, and there's not really too much development that's going on. But I took it as a starter movie. It's explaining the background of the Man of Steel, and it did a very good job of that as far as Krypton goes, as far as General Zod goes, and all that stuff was about. So I think in the Batman vs Superman movie, they will eventually explain what they didn't explain in the Man of Steel movie. But DC's just trying to do their thing, and I think it'll pay off for them eventually.
I think. We were just talking about this yesterday, how Marvel is more like showing you little bits at a time, whereas DC, again, we haven't seen really much of DC other than Man of Steel, but they're just like, bam, here it is. Yeah. They're just throwing you in there.
Yeah.
And just like, it is what it is. This is what we're going to do. And we're not going to sit here and tell you Batman's parents died and he became Batman again. Superman, Superman, they did an origin story, but Flash and all this.
That was kind of, especially for what the storyline is of Batman vs Superman, where the society's not sure what Superman is. I think that was appropriate,
right?
Because they're going with that. They're going with the origins of Superman and really making him like a new hero to the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's working for them.
Yeah, and so now going forward, I think that they're just gonna dive straight into just stuff like here, like our characters are ready here, 10 years, 15 years, 5 years, whatever it is, into it. We're not going to waste time like getting their powers and rising up. And
well, I think the best part, one of the best parts about the DC universe is that pretty much all of the greatest stories in DC are multiple heroes coming together. Mm-hmm. There are very few graphic novels, issues, stories, whatever, where it's just a solo act.
Right.
There's very few like that. Like mm-hmm. Dark Knight Returns is supposed to be about Batman. Superman is in it. Flashpoint, all the heroes are in it. Identity Crisis, Final Crisis, Infinite Crisis, all that stuff. All their best stuff is when everybody's together. For Marvel stuff, it's kind of the same way, but there's actually some really, really good, like the Planet Hulk stuff. It's mainly Hulk. There's Winter Soldiers, Captain America, all that kind of stuff. They're able to have really good standalone books, but a lot of DC stuff, Justice League, they're all together. You know what I mean? And I think that's probably the main reason why they're throwing all their eggs in one basket, per se, because that's what they do. That's what all their books are about. It's all about the community and connectivity of all the different heroes and how well they work together.
Okay. So, jumping ship here, we kind of got ourselves into DC. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about, for a minute, their television universe.
Yeah.
Which we are huge fans of.
Definitely. Flash and
Arrow. Obviously Flash is new this year, but let's talk about Arrow first.
Okay.
So Arrow, we've been watching. I was watching it day one, sat down. I remember sitting in my living room watching it.
You got me hooked. I remember Dan got me hooked on it, and I watched it over winter break. and came back to school and was able to catch up to season 2, and we started watching that together. So Dan and I are both huge fans of that. Season 3 though is the newest season that happened, and we think this, and a majority of the viewers of Arrow, I think, would think this, is that it wasn't the best.
No,
it just wasn't the best. They were trying different things, especially in the first, I'll say, half of the season. Brick was a main character.
He came in for 3 episodes,
and that was
in the middle.
That was it was probably.
It was like 10, 11, 12, I think he came in for.
Yeah, and
right after Oliver was killed,
and
quote
strapped.
quote.
And then you have the Count, who was in
Vertigo. Yeah,
Vertigo. He was in second episode.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
And when was the last time we saw him?
I think he came back one more time before the season ended.
It might have been once, but like, I definitely feel like with this season they were just. I don't want to say they ran out of ideas, but they were definitely trying to figure out, especially at the beginning of the season, where the actual season was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And they really didn't bring anything into it, and probably, I want to say, probably halfway through the first half, so like the first quarter of the season, is when you started like seeing like Ra's al Ghul and all that kind of stuff. And then obviously the mid-season finale with the stabbing of Oliver freaked all of us out. It was terrifying.
I was going to say, I honestly think that episode was more shocking, big, all that kind of stuff than the season finale was.
Definitely.
I was more liking that one than the season finale. Season finale, even Oliver himself, Stephen Amell explained, it was basically like a series finale.
Yeah.
It closed off like the show was ending.
Yeah, it definitely it made it seem like we're really, for the next season, going to be looking at a whole new show.
Yeah.
Because especially, the League of Assassins is now out of the picture besides Malcolm Merlyn.
Well, he signed on to come back, so he'll be around.
Obviously he'll be back, but as far as like the involvement of Oliver trying to like become the next Ra's al Ghul,
it's not there.
That's not happening anymore. Raise the other picture for Felicity. It's now Olicity's back. We're using the term Olicity here.
We hope so.
They're going to Coast City now. Diggle might take a break from this stuff. Start really being a full-time dad. See,
now I'm hearing different things. I heard that he may suit up. That he's going to get some kind of suit this season. Season 4.
I love seeing all the memes on Stephen Amell's Meme Monday of all like the Diggle suits of how Oliver gets one, Roy gets one, Thea got one episode. And Diggle's like, where the hell's my suit?
Right, poor Diggle, yeah.
Where is my super suit?
Right, but I mean, I think the closest he came was he wore a ski mask once.
Well, he also, as far as his own suit, he did wear the hood a few times.
Right.
Talked about how tight it was. Mm-hmm. I think it was one of the jokes.
Well, he's bigger. He's taller, I think, than Amell.
Yeah.
I don't know about size-wise. They're about the same.
I feel like, they're about the same. I think Oliver's slimming down.
You think he's getting smaller?
Yeah, I think he's. I think the muscle mass is not what it used to be.
I mean,
as a heterosexual fan, I don't think I'm allowed to say that.
I think maybe it's just getting to him, all the working out. I mean, think of it, he's doing like a workout like Hugh Jackman would do for a Wolverine movie for a few months and then he's done. Stephen Amell has to keep this constantly like intense, body. So now,
I mean, he's doing his thing. I'm not saying he looks bad. I'm just saying compared to like the first season where he was doing like the fucking salmon ladder every single episode, like there's definitely been some like decreasing muscle mass happening. I don't know. This is a weird topic we're getting on right now.
Yeah, so let's get back to
let's get back to the show.
What
just a little bit.
What I found for the third season is I think they tried to they had to go bigger than season 2, which was phenomenal.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
With Slade and stuff. Even though Slade was a bit underused, I still think that he did well enough for the show.
I don't want to say he was underused, but I think for season 2, they definitely put all the eggs in one basket. Like Slade Wilson, they could have used Slade Wilson like the Legends of Tomorrow series. Mm-hmm. Like he's an assassin. Like
as like on the team or against the team?
Against the team.
Okay.
Like he's an assassin. He gets hired by the biggest and baddest guys out there.
Right.
As far as like government.
Yeah, he's an assassin for hire.
He's kind of like a overpaid Deadshot. If you want to think of it like that. And just to have him storm Starling City with the Mirakuru army, and just like to get rid of him that quickly, I just kind of felt like why? Like, you had so much more use, and they brought him back in season 3 for an episode, and Manu Bennett, I think we talked about this, or he said this, is now saying that he doesn't want to come back.
Yeah.
Because of how poorly they used him.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that he escaped. I was excited for that. When they were looking to find him, they ended up capturing him and they put him back in the Argus prison. Like, that's what they did. He could have went off the island. There could have been an entire storyline of him going off the island and them trying to track him by the end of the episode and not be able to find him. And Manu Bennett's character could have been, I don't want to say a main character, but could have been like a main overseeing villain for the rest of the series.
Yeah. Like, he's behind everything, almost like how Teen Titans was, that old cartoon.
Pretty much the same. I definitely feel like he was underused in that sense.
And I could see where Manu Bennett's coming from. I absolutely think that he could have been bigger. I mean, he was supposed to be next to unstoppable. Like, sometimes it takes the entire Justice League to take him down.
Yeah.
And he has no powers.
Exactly.
He's just had, like, I mean, they did the Mirakuru. Did I say that right? Yeah, Mirakuru. Yeah. That he had. I don't know what he does in the comics. I think he's just a huge, big soldier, kind of guy, or whatever. So, like, now that he has his weapon inside of him, they definitely should have made him even harder to stop.
Yeah. Well, the fact that, I mean, I understand, like, chemical whatever, they put the Mirakuru, they found a cure, a temporary cure there. It was so quick.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, I get it. Like, Felicity's really smart and really hot, and she can do whatever she wants. But, like, it was too quick. It was too quick for that to happen. The fact that they were able to defeat him so easily and so quickly. Now, I'm not dissing, the end of season 2, because season 2 is by far my favorite season of the series of Arrow so far. But I just feel like they could have extended the use. Though for season 4, for the end of season 3, the hint at the Hive, which is going to be the villain of season 4. Yep. I'm very excited for that. I don't know if any of you guys have watched Teen Titans, not Teen Titans Go, not that shit. The good Teen Titans animated series.
In the early thousands.
Yeah. With the Hive being that kind of like super school for potential villains and heroes. It's awesome. It's great. With now the other thing is that with Brother Blood in the animated series of Teen Titans, Brother Blood is the head of the Hive.
Right.
But as we know from the series, that Brother Blood was the dude who was running for mayor, whatever the fuck his name was. I can't think of it right now. But he was like the Mirakuru. He was like Slade's number 2 in a way.
His name was Sebastian Blood.
Sebastian Blood. That was it.
Yep.
So, Brother Blood is technically the leader of the Hive. Now, who's Damian Drake?
Damien Dark. Damien Dark.
That's who they're using as the head of the Hive, which I'm fine with. But I'm really excited to see where they go, because, a lot of their viewers are going to know the Hive is like that super school. Also, the readers of the comics, the Hive is something different. So they have all these different options to go with. I'm really excited to see how they go with that, especially bringing Oliver back. Because, as we've discussed, that Arrow's done. The Hood's done.
They said the Arrow's done, yeah. He won't suit up again.
Right. So there's a potential of, the end of season 3. We know that Oliver and Felicity are going to Coast City. And those of you guys who are DC fans know what is significant in Coast City, and those who are not, Coast City is actually the home of the Green Lantern.
Yep.
Who is probably my personal favorite superhero, and probably favorite comic book series. So I'm really excited. I really hope they capitalize on the opportunity to reference Hal Jordan, because we all know that the Green Arrow and the Green Lantern are probably the strongest Bond superhero pair in the DC universe. And even if it's not Hal Jordan, I'd love to see just an ounce of Ferris, which they have mentioned in the past
many times,
and all that kind of stuff. Just keep referencing that. Unfortunately, TV and cinematic stuff can't cross over.
No.
At least the DC universe is strictly doing that. Unfortunately, very unfortunately. So we probably won't see the Green Lantern suit up in any sort of the way. But like a nice like nod or something like that, at least where Oliver and Hal Jordan, before he becomes a Green Lantern, meet and become like really good friends.
That'd be cool.
Which we'll see in the flashbacks, because now the flashback I think I'm pretty sure takes place in Coast City now.
Yeah, he was getting on a boat at the end of season 3 in the flashbacks to go to Coast City.
Yeah, so that's where hopefully he meets Hal Jordan and they build that brotherly bond that we all know and love dearly in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping for that.
And I feel like, as far as Ra's al Ghul, they talked him up season 1, season 2, name dropping him, right? And then season 2, of course, they brought in his daughter Nyssa, who was very well played by super hot by Katrina Law from Spartacus. They love using Spartacus actors.
Yeah, with Manu Bennett too. Yeah.
Manu Bennett. One of the other ones too. In Flash, for the second Weather Wizard, Liam McKintry.
Oh, the brother, yeah.
Yeah, he played the Spartacus when Andy Whitfield passed away. He took over the role.
Okay.
But anyway, so for Matt Nable, who plays Ra's al Ghul, they build him up, and then they show him, and I just never got behind him as Ra's al Ghul. I never believed him. I mean, obviously he had big shoes to fill after Liam Neeson played him, but even so, I just don't believe him.
I mean, when you have the speculations that Liam Neeson, who openly said he would come back.
Right, if he wasn't as busy, yeah.
Like he said that, and the audience and the fans are gonna be like, oh, Liam Neeson, like, yes, we want him back. And I definitely see where you're coming from. I do agree that the Ra's al Ghul that we saw in the show, there's a lot of hype to it. I don't want to say I was let down, but I definitely wasn't as excited for it when it was happening.
Right.
They showed, or the character, kind of showed a soul, emotions, and personality. But the majority of it was just like, Oliver Queen, if you don't take my place, I'm gonna kill Starling City. Like, that was pretty much like the ideology of.
He was too mission oriented.
Yeah, and when he was like training Oliver, or else him, he was kind of revealing some of his.
Which he had so many fucking names when he was making his descent into Oliver Queen was making his descent to Ra's al Ghul. It was Elsa him and Elsa her, and
nobody was Elsa her.
Oh, it was like heir to the demon and
they made
all this kind of stuff.
They made the joke that Elsa him was marrying Elsa her.
Well, true, but it was just like so many names I felt like he went through before actually. Oh, he never really got Ra's al Ghul.
That might have been a thing because Ra's was trying to make Oliver forget he was ever Oliver Queen.
True.
And a bunch of different identities are coming at him. Heir of the Demon, Elsa him, Ra's al Ghul. He's all the opportunities to take place of these names.
Right. Confuse him.
Yeah, confuse him, and also just like have him make a decision, because as we know from the beginning of the season, pretty much the main struggle of the season, which I think they kept pretty well up with that. Which is Oliver Queen trying to figure out the person who he wants to be.
Mm-hmm.
Whether he wants to be the Arrow, whether he wants to be Oliver Queen the person. He was going through the thing of whether to be Oliver Queen, a.k.a. future Ra's al Ghul. And so I do think they did a good job of keeping that overall theme. I think that... It was
identity, right? It was the
identity,
theme.
Yeah. I think that doesn't get talked about enough in a lot of the articles that we read on Movie Pilot and Screen Rant and things like that. But they did a great job. They definitely did a great job of continuing that throughout the season.
Mm-hmm. Though, it just, I don't know. The ending for me, the way they got rid of Ra's al Ghul seemed very just kind of like, he's gone.
Sudden.
The way the fight was very anticlimactic for me. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, bam, he's gone. Okay, we got to kind of move on. We got to get rid of him.
I definitely felt like the best, going back to season 2, the emotion they were able to drag out of its audience members. My personal favorite episode is when Moira gets stabbed.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing that. I was hyperventilating.
Yeah.
I was freaking out that this happened, because that happened just like out of nowhere.
It did.
Like you didn't like you didn't think like, oh, he's totally gonna kill that bitch. Like no, you had no idea because she was fine. I mean, and if you're like a huge like movie guy, you can kind of figure it out. Like, oh, she was like apologizing to her kids. They're making amends. Yada yada yada. But at the same time, you're just like, yes, Moira, Team Moira, and then she fucking stabbed.
Yeah.
And it's a heartbreaker. And the only time I felt close to that was probably. It's a toss up between when Sarah was killed in the first episode and where Oliver was killed in mid-season.
I felt more emotion to when Sarah died.
You cried. You actually cried.
I don't think I cried.
I was there. You actually cried.
I didn't cry when Sarah died.
He cried.
I didn't cry. No, it was just that was a good episode. They really got us. Really good. My brother's telling me I'm a pussy. Thanks.
It's a giant gaping.
Thanks.
Vagina.
Well, hey, they got it. That was their job. That's what they were going for. I mean, they wanted us
hooked
to get hooked, right? I wanted to see what happened.
And I do agree because like the first season of season 3, coming off of season 2, all that emotion, all that energy, all that adrenaline that we were feeling after all this was happening, and to come out with that, great. Didn't follow up.
Mm-mm.
It was a huge peak, and it was just smacked down.
The next big peak was when he was stabbed, Oliver, that is.
Yeah, and then the next one was probably when he decided to go to Nana Parbat, maybe. Thea, maybe, probably Thea.
Probably Thea showing up in suit.
Thea was freaky.
Suiting up? Is that what you're alluding to?
No, when she was almost killed.
Oh.
That was pretty freaky.
Yeah.
I knew she wasn't going to be because you and I have talked about the Lazarus Pit in the past.
Right.
Which is what you thought was how they were going to bring back Oliver. Instead, it was Tatsu and
his wife. Well, she becomes Katana.
Yeah.
But I can't think of her.
We'll just call her Katana for now. But Katana's the one who brought it back with herbs and such, which it was.
And he came back very quick.
He did. There wasn't enough. There wasn't enough time to grieve.
Mm-mm.
Like they easily could have dragged that on longer. I felt. Do you mean come back to like life, or come back to Starling City?
Well, both. I think that they could have had him be dead a while longer, and if not dead, then at least away from Starling for longer.
Yeah, well, I feel like the whole like dead thing, like if he's dead for a long time, you're basically like breaking laws of physics, even though you already are, because it's it's a comic book movie, yada yada yada. But I do agree that the way he came back to Starling City, great, loved it during the whole riots.
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree that he came back too quick. They really rushed Felicity, Diggle, and Roy. And I don't even did what the Laurel. Did Laurel even know that he was dead? I don't think she ever knew.
I'm not sure.
Well, regardless, they didn't give those characters. They rushed those characters to get over it so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Like they really rushed it. Like, and I understand because like Brick was like coming into the city, like taking shit over. They kind of had to, but at the same time, I felt like they could have maybe put the Brick thing off a little bit, maybe like an episode or 2 later, and maybe put his things. The biggest disappointment for me in the entire show is they did not bring back Wildcat after that.
Yeah, they made no reference of him.
Oh my god, I was excited when he first came on. Wildcat's one of my favorite heroes. I love the story. I love the story they used. How he used to be a vigilante, and then he came back.
I wanted more about that. I wanted to know more about it.
I want to know more about it. I definitely feel like they rushed his character too, because you met a sidekick in the one episode.
Yes.
But they could have brought him back. He could be in Legends of Tomorrow. Like he could have been a legitimate hero. Like yes, he's I don't want to say more experienced than Oliver because clearly that's a conversation for another time. But he's done it before. He's done the whole vigilante thing before, and maybe he could have been the leader of the Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, that would have been interesting, and I think that them not even mentioning him was just kind of like their way of just like, oh, maybe people forget about him. you know. But like I didn't.
No.
I want to know like he I remember if I remember correctly
He got the shit kicked out of him.
Right, and then we never saw him again.
Yeah, like they never like said he died, which I'm assuming he didn't die.
Right.
And they just totally let him go as Laurel's teacher, and Laurel took on Nissa, or Laurel and Nissa as a teacher.
And his costume was very just like
shit.
It was like him in almost street clothes with a hockey mask, or not hockey mask, a ski mask on.
I don't know if that was the original garb he wore when he was the original vigilante originally.
Why not? Like, why not have him? Especially if it's going to be the last time we see him. Why not have him put his Wildcat on, tights on?
With that, I feel like they could have used that later on. Like they could have easily used that as like Legend of Tomorrow thing. Like I was saying, like that could have been his costume. Like maybe during the final battle with Roz, when everybody's there, like Wildcat could have came. Like Wildcat
showed up.
Wildcat could have been a huge ally for Arrow. You know, he had a boxing training place in the inner city.
Could have been some of his new headquarters.
Could have been his headquarters. Could have been kind of his eyes and ears down that area, because you know all they do is pretty much just like track the police, you know, scan and everything like that. Like they could have easily used him as kind of like a little I don't want to say rat, but like you know what I mean, informant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean that's again to go back the Jim. How cool would it have been if Arrow set up his base there? I mean, because he can't use the club anymore. They know about it.
No, and that could even be more of him bonding with more heroes. Mm-hmm. That could have been a lot more hero interaction, and that could have set up for other things.
Yeah.
Like Wildcat, the fact that he was a vigilante all the way back then, there could have been heroes way back then too. There could have been different heroes in different cities.
Right.
There could have been other things happening that they could have brought into
there was
play.
So much room for growth with it.
Yeah, and maybe all this like cut off of growth and all this is what the writers were saying, which is that the series is actually only supposed to last 5 seasons.
Yep.
Because they're trying to do it with the same timeline
of his flashbacks.
Of his flashbacks and how long Oliver was away. It was 5 years, which I understand, which is great. I understand their fear of, because this is Dan's actually biggest complaint of the whole show, is that everything in the flashback just happens to happen in real life.
Like it's lining up perfectly.
Yeah.
With what he's doing.
Dan
yeah.
Doesn't like the coincidence.
It's too much coincidence. It's one thing if it was once in a while, but it's for every episode to be all right. He's dealing with the Omega and Alpha thing, the chemicals, and then just so happens that that's what Roz is using to try and take down the town or city, whatever.
Well, and I think the flashbacks aren't. Well, they're clearly not the story.
Right. They're B stories.
And they're literally just using that. It's pretty much just an audience crutch to help us understand what they actually are, because I'm sure they plan on doing the flashbacks in the beginning, but if they decided not to, it'd be really hard to like give that that would take up way more time to explain what was going on, and we couldn't relate to that, see that being developed. Mm-hmm. So I think the flashbacks are good. I think they're good for the show. So back when I was going, as I was saying, maybe they're not overdeveloping any of these characters because it's only 5 seasons. They got 2 more left.
Right.
And they have so many more ideas that they want to bring in to the show, and really want to see how those go before any of that kind of stuff happens. Interesting.
Well, let's go ahead and jump over now to Flash.
Okay.
What were your thoughts going into it, and then maybe during it, after it, all that?
Well, I mean, we see Barry Allen in the 2nd season of Arrow for the first time. I was skeptical. I'm used to a blonde Barry Allen.
Of course.
But my personal opinion, and this is just my opinion, is that the 1st season of Flash was better than the entire series of Arrow so far.
The entire
series. I will flat out say that. Hate me if you want. But the way they brought in, they incorporated the particle accelerator into all the villains happening, that created some storyline. The fact that Eobard Thawne killed the original Harrison Wells and took over his body.
Spoilers.
Created a huge, the main storyline.
Right.
Gorilla Grodd, a little bit different. Didn't really like him.
We'll get into Gorilla Grodd.
But another storyline, and the whole thing with Barry trying to figure out who killed his mother.
Right.
It's always been a thing for him, but now that he has his powers, he's able to fully understand what's going on. But yeah, and the characters, Iris, Candice Pat did a great job. Eddie Thawne, fantastic. I think his best acting and his best time in the role was definitely the season finale.
When he sacrificed himself.
When he sacrificed himself, I respected the hell out of him for that as a character. Cisco, fucking hilarious. Love Cisco.
Cisco's awesome, yeah.
Cisco's awesome. Cisco is what makes Flash kind of a Marvel-like thing for the DC universe.
Almost.
Because Marvel's a lot brighter, and I've actually seen a post where it's like, don't like the darkness of DC, but watch Daredevil as a Marvel fan. But I hate the happy-go-lucky thing of Marvel, but I'll watch Flash, because Flash is very similar to that. And Cisco's so funny, so quick on the jokes. Danielle Panabaker did a great job as Emma Frost.
Caitlin Frost.
Caitlin Frost. Great job. Again, with storylines, Firestorm. Holy crap. So cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
So cool.
For a TV budget, that looked really, really fucking cool.
Oh my god. No, it was great. It was fantastic. And Flash is definitely the more comic booky, cartoony version of the DC TV shows.
Oh yeah.
But they do it well. Right. And personally, like I was saying, I think the first season of Flash, they did a lot better than a lot of what Arrow was doing. I think those writers and producers, or a lot of like now the same as Arrow, but those guys really understood the potential that they had for Flash when they brought him into Arrow season 2, and just took it and just went with it. It was great. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Interesting. For me, again, when I saw him get introduced on Arrow, I think it was season 2, episode 8. I want to say.
Yeah, I think it was the first half.
They're doing like 8 every 8 episode. Like the 8th episode is going to be like a crossover. Yeah. I think that was like their plan. And so he came in, and it's like this little brown-haired, skinny guy. Yeah. I'm like, that's going to be the Flash, you know, that kind of thing.
This guy.
Yeah, like I don't know about this. And then, of course, his show started, and they kind of repeated some of the elements again. And you see how he gets the powers, and they obviously go more into it and stuff. And just the whole show as a whole was fantastic. I don't know if I would say it's better than Arrow as a whole. I would say it's definitely better than season 3.
By far.
Easily.
Yeah.
Because I'm always into more of the dark characters. So I actually lean towards Arrow, but I love Flash. And the villains, I mean, I've told you 100 times when we watch it. Love Captain Cold. Think he's great. Wentworth Miller. Awesome.
Great pick.
He could be in every episode of Flash, and I'd be like, awesome. Soul, rock on. I mean, all the villains are great, too. The only one that was Grodd, which you kind of alluded to. I just didn't believe it. I didn't believe that this gorilla...
Like, that was too comic booky. Like,
too much.
I think it's...
Too much too soon.
Too much too soon, definitely. I think... Although I love the Flash, I definitely feel like they did like a lot of things. So I'll get into it a little bit. But with Grodd, it was all the build up that happened, and then it was just like all of a sudden Grodd.
Yes.
And then it was all of a sudden no Grodd. Like just it was like bam, bam, bam.
What
like,
I don't even remember what happened to him.
He put in the thing for the particle accelerator to happen, or. He put something on a roof, right?
Who's this he?
Grodd. Grodd put some I don't know if he put it on a roof, but he had like a tube when he was climbing that building, and like he jumped off, like, you know.
I don't remember this at all.
That was like the very end of that episode.
Okay.
That's what happened, and I think it was just the formula to go into the particle accelerator in order to make it work, so that Eobard Thawne could go home. But yeah, it was just bam, 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 out and out, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't have used him, because it could have been a good storyline.
Yeah.
But it was just all at once.
And I didn't believe, and obviously it's TV budget and everything like that, but that being said, again, when we just talked about it, Firestorm looked fantastic. The Weather Wizard looked fantastic. Like all these characters looked fantastic. But then again, there were certain elements that didn't.
Right.
Like so, Grodd wasn't like it was like eh. And then I remember
It was a CGI gorilla. What do you
yeah, it was just
expect?
true. But I almost would have rather had it being like a suit.
Like Planet of the Apes? Nah.
Maybe.
Nah.
Maybe.
I would have been pissed off if they would have done that, because after all the special effects that they have of like Weather Wizard and all the different villains, all that special effects, it was great.
Yeah.
It was great for the show. And then you come in with this dude in a fucking monkey suit. I was like, really? Like, this is where like your budget just ran out for like this episode?
Well, I think
really?
that's kind of what happened in a way, though, is they did all this leading up with Grodd, as you were saying before, where they tease him. All right, here's the cage. Here's him running in the sewers. He grabs a couple people. We don't really see him. We just see an arm or his mouth or something like that. And then when the episode came, they maybe just didn't have the money. Wasn't all there to just dump into like these shots.
Yeah, maybe.
So they kind of had to do Jurassic Park, the original Jurassic Park style, where they hid him in shadows and darkness, and that's why he was in the sewer.
Right.
Because if you're having bright, shiny daylight, it's way harder to try and do.
That's a lot of like Spielberg and like Hitchcock stuff.
Yeah, hide him in the shadows.
Which actually kind of makes it a little more terrifying, which it did. And
yeah,
then
it
you
worked.
saw him, and you're just like, really?
Yeah.
This is the guy. So I don't know. But going back to what I was saying about throwing everything out there, I was a little concerned, and I still am concerned for the future of the show, that they just went into it, Barry figuring out who killed his mom first season.
Right.
Like they just went right into it, and it's great. Like it came out great. It's fine. What's next?
Right.
I mean, those of you who have seen the season 1 finale, those of you who haven't, Barry basically goes into this dimensional portal after the particle accelerator, goes haywire, and it cuts off there, and I'm concerned because one, what are they going to use from that dimensional portal to bring to the show?
Right.
We saw the hint of the Jay Garrick helmet,
which I hope they do.
So excited! It's great. It's another Flash we need in the show. It's fantastic. I love it. But there's different things. There's a picture of Barry going to jail. That was something.
Caitlin Snow as the Killer Frost.
Killer Frost. Super excited for that. I'm really excited to see that car.
Flash Museum.
Flash Museum. We saw. But it's in that dimensional portal. Like, what's going to happen? Is he going to go back in time? Again, is he going to be in a different dimension? Is it going to be a variation of Flashpoint?
Maybe.
Because we already saw him go back in time, and his future self told his past self not to stop him. Like don't worry about it. Like let mom die. And maybe it's because that future self knows what's going to happen if he saves his mom. Maybe what if that's a thing? What if that's what happens?
He does know what happens.
But his mom doesn't.
That's why he waves him off. He does know.
The future self knows, not the present Barry.
Right. The future knows.
The present Barry doesn't know. So maybe eventually down the line, they figure out, hey, like if he doesn't know, let him go back and find out. And that's how they get the whole like Flashpoint thing going. Because they did tease the Flashpoint, and it went through. Now, obviously, when they go with the Flashpoint paradox, you can't have Batman in there.
Well, I thought of a way around that. Where instead of Batman...
Superman with Smallville? Is that what you talked about?
No. Well, that would be cool. But no, instead of having it be Thomas Wayne over Bruce Wayne, don't do Batman at all. Do Robert Queen survived over Oliver Queen. Ooh. And took over and decided to be a vigilante.
Writers of Flash, are you listening to this right now? This is gold. Take this idea.
I mean, he would be super old, but it's still, that would be like that same play on it.
No, that'd be fantastic. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that because that even makes more sense, I think, than Thomas Wayne becoming Batman. Because Robert Queen had the mission to right his wrongs, avenge his city.
Somebody had to do it.
Not to fail the city. And if Oliver passes, he's like, well, shit, my son can't carry on, my legacy. I gotta do it myself.
Right.
So he does it, and honestly, again, I think that makes more sense than the Thomas Wayne Batman.
Well, Thomas Wayne, it was because, my son died, now I need to avenge him. That's why his is more of like avenge than Batman.
But think of realistically, if your son died, would you avenge him by literally becoming Batman? What's your incentive to become Batman at that point? You have the Flashpoint.
They don't explain it a whole lot, from what I know.
Yeah, all of a sudden he's decides to become Batman. No, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Well, Martha becomes Joker too,
which also doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Well, then
she just goes kooky about it.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Well, because they don't really explain it. I mean,
right.
You can infer that she might have gone crazy because her son died.
Right in front of her.
But the fact that Thomas Wayne happened to become Batman,
mm-hmm.
the fact that happened, how does that happen? The fact that Robert Queen becomes the Green Arrow, perfect sense. He goes on the island. He meets that Asian guy whose name escapes me. I don't even know if he has
Tatsu?
No.
Oh, the original guy.
The OG Asian. The Asian.
What is his name?
I don't know his name. The
Shadow's father.
The father of Shadow.
Yeah.
Meets that guy, trains. Makes perfect sense for him to become the Hood, the Arrow, the Green Arrow.
Right.
Perfect sense. I think it's a great idea. I think we need to contact all those dudes at CW, let them know what's up.
Yeah, tell them we need to be in the writer's room.
Yeah, send them letters, just really... We talk about this all the time, we should be the writers, but,
Of too many things, we'd be too busy.
We'd be too busy. That's why we don't do it.
Right, that's the only reason why we don't do it, because we would just have too many. We don't want to let anybody down.
Yeah, exactly.
But, what did you think of the crossovers for the shows?
My God. Fantastic. I love the crossovers. I really liked what they did with Flash, and I forget what they called the villain, but the villain who turned Barry's anger against him.
Rainbow Raider.
Stupid name. Can we talk about it for a second?
Sure.
Rainbow Raider is a character who shoots anger into people.
Not just anger.
It's not just anger?
Anger is his main one, but he has different emotions. He can control people's emotions, is essentially what it is. And then you know how you associate colors with emotions?
That's fine. They only introduced anger. It was only red.
Well, I guess they maybe had an idea of having it grow.
Maybe
bringing him back or
maybe
something.
Down the line in season 2 he'll come back, because we all know that DC is just super obsessive with bringing all their villains back whenever they can.
Well, why not?
That's what they do. But I love that crossover. The Arrow crossover. Well, it's escaping me. What was the Arrow crossover?
They were looking for Captain Boomerang.
Yeah, that was.
In Argus, he was a part of Argus.
It was. Oh yeah, and they went to the place.
They went to Argus. They fought him in Argus.
Right. I think that episode was good. I only remember because it was good for Barry to learn what a team was like.
Right.
Because he was personally having trouble with his own team at Star Labs,
mm-hmm.
and Oliver and when Diggle first saw him, that's right.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right.
He
Diggle,
couldn't get over it.
Pissed himself or pooped himself or whatever he said. Yeah. No, okay, it's coming back to me now. But yeah, all it taught Barry, how to work as a team, and that was great. I thought it was good. I don't know what do you think about the crossovers?
I loved the crossovers. I thought that was really cool. I'm trying to think which one I liked more.
I think the Flash one was just so much more involved.
Was the Flash crossover the Rainbow Raider? Yeah, that's right. Because then they fought, and I remember
it was the first time they
slow mo,
fought.
and that was a good one.
And the ending was they're in the warehouse, and they actually
who's better fighter, right?
And we never know.
No,
we never know.
Who do you think it is?
At that point, probably Oliver.
Okay.
Because Oliver knows what he can do and what he can't do. Barry's still naive.
Well, now end of season 2 or
end of
season 1 and 3.
End of season 1. I still want to say Oliver, just because again he still knows. Barry, throughout the end of season 1, learned that he can walk through walls, run up buildings,
run on water.
He's still learning. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And Oliver is still learning too, but he is not so much learning combat as he is as a person. So that's
he's learning how to survive with both, live with both.
So I think Oliver's skills are already there. I think he's smart enough to take down Barry, personally. That's my opinion.
Okay, and what's next for Flash?
Flash? I don't know. Do you know?
I mean,
With the portal.
Yeah, they said that they're going to introduce multiple Earths, or universes, whatever you want to call it. So that would probably mean Jay Garrick. That would probably mean, well, I think that they're going to bring Wally West in, which would be Iris's either estranged brother or a cousin, maybe.
Because, but I'm glad they actually did mention it. Is when I think it was Harrison Wells asked Joe, mentioned Joe's wife, and like the same.
Yeah,
reason,
it was like once
and,
in
like,
the season.
Same reason, like you don't talk about wife or something like that. So I'm glad, like yes, there's a wife, which means there could be more siblings.
Could be.
Like maybe Iris's mom died, and the brother just went bad, turned the wrong way, and that's why they don't talk about him a whole lot. So maybe that could happen. I don't know. Be. So excited for Wally West though. Love Wally West. Oh my god, so excited. It's gonna be great. So great.
Yeah. So I think that's what they're gonna. Most of the season 2 is gonna be driven on is that exploring parallel universes, infinite universes, how it is affecting him. They're obviously going to be bringing. Well, we won't see some of the villains like Cold and Heatwave necessarily because they'll be on Legends of Tomorrow, which we can talk about. Excuse me. So we'll be seeing a lot of new. So a lot of new villains there and everything. But we'll just real quick. We'll just talk about Legends of Tomorrow. Basically, for those that haven't heard, I don't see why you shouldn't. You should be looking up this trailer right now. Pause this video if you're watching it. Go watch this trailer. It's basically people from both the Arrow and the Flash universe. Even Sarah Lance, spoilers, comes back in the Lazarus Pit as the White Canary from the Lazarus Pit. Malcolm Merlyn, I guess, tries to make amends and brings her back, which I'm very excited for to have her back. And
push-up bras, just
hey, you know what? Rock on, man! I'm all for it. She was way better Canary than Laurel will ever be. Sorry, Katie Cassidy, but
no, definitely. Like I had a struggle. I mean, I think it was only different because with Katie Cassidy, like she went down the whole, or Laurel went down with the whole like drug, alcohol thing.
It was weird.
And you lost that like innocent side of Laurel that you fell in love with in the first season, and then she like went down this dark path, and you're like, whoa, like what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
And in a way, it's like her own mini Oliver situation, where like several like traumatic experiences affect your life in such a way where you change yourself as a person, and because the story of like Oliver Queen being the happy-go-lucky, get in trouble all the time, rich preppy kid, comes back, very very quiet, very to himself, not as outgoing as he needs to be. So I think that's kind of what they're doing with Laurel. But we digress. Legends of Tomorrow.
Yes.
You want to keep talking about that?
Yeah. So the Rip Hunter, who is a time traveler in the DC universe, he comes to present day, our present day, Earth 1, and says, "Hey, I need to bring this team of people together to travel time and the world in order to stop a villain, Vandal Savage, who is a huge character, very important character, who's like immortal. He was the main villain in Justice League Doom, which was an incredible animated movie.
Also one of the main villains in Young Justice, the animated series. It only lasted two seasons, unfortunately, but nevertheless. Yeah,
so he'll be the main villain, and in the trailer we don't see him yet, which is fine. But essentially, so they're traveling through different times, like I said, and places, and they bring Captain Cold and Heatwave and White Canary and the Atom, because at the end of season 3 he blows up and we think, oh my god, he's dead, but it's actually just he now has the ability to shrink like the actual Atom, which is pretty cool. I guess him and Ant-Man had a conversation how they can shrink. I don't know. Shared some notes.
Apparently him and Paul Rudd.
Yeah, and so they were going to bring him in. Only half of Firestorm. They're only going to have Martin Stein so far.
Which I think is just because that Robbie Amell's character is pretty much just going to be with Kate, because they're getting married. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm sure he's just going to try to live a normal life for a while. Obviously, he'll probably come back for season 2 of Flash.
Here and there.
Was he even casted in Legends of Tomorrow? Is he even in it at all?
No, that's what I mean. They haven't said.
All right, so obviously won't be in that, but Flash season 2 will probably be back, especially when spoiler. Caitlin Frost turns into Frost.
Killer Frost.
Killer Frost.
Yeah. Caitlin Snow turns into Killer Frost. That's what you meant to say.
Words, man.
Yeah.
Words are hard.
It's getting late. Right, so then they all come together and have to work with Rip Hunter to stop Vandal Savage. And I think they said it comes out in January, in that break in the shows. And it'll be, I don't know, again, we were talking about this morning. I'm not sure if it's a limited series, mini-series kind of thing, or if it's going to be like
extensive
season
series,
after season.
Like Arrow and Flash. I'm surprised it's coming out in January.
I think that's when it is.
Because the break happens, I want to say like the teens of December.
So then maybe that's when it'll start. I'm not really sure. So it's in the winter time.
Maybe then, but at the same time, like, I don't know. They're obviously, if it's going to be just between the break, it's not going to be that in depth with the characters.
I think it'll just start then, just to kind of, entertain us for a while the shows are off, and then they might come back and say whatever is February or whatever it is, and then it'll probably continue with it from February to May with the rest of it. So they might only be 13 episodes where the rest of the shows are 23.
Maybe. I don't know. But again, like, nothing's been revealed yet. We don't know anything.
Yeah,
we're
just
speculating right now.
Guessing.
Which, if what Dan is saying is true, that means for us, that means that every single day of the week it will be busy.
That's if they put it on a Thursday.
Between the hours of like 8 p.m. and 10 p.m.
We're going to be a bunch of old ladies with the shows.
Monday, we watch Gotham.
Which we'll be talking about on here.
Which we'll talk about here another time. But, however, Supergirl's coming out. Super excited about that. So that's probably when I take place.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday, Flash. Wednesday, Arrow. And if Legends of Tomorrow's on Thursday, Legends of Tomorrow. So, that GPA is going to drop.
Right. We're going to be doing this as well, and we're going to be doing our show, Undecided.
Undecided. Dan and I.
Shameless plug. Here we
go. Shameless plug. Along with our good friend Patrick Howard, we are creating a TV show at our university, Stevens University, on SUTV, called Undecided. It's basically 6 college kids, 3 upperclassmen, 3 freshmen, kind of going through college. It's kind of like a basic sitcom, such as like Friends or Big Bang Theory, where it's just the life of that they're living through college. Also similar to Boy Meets World in a way where you kind of like pick up lessons. It's not going to be so like homey in that sense, but it's going to be good. It's going to be a show that I think that is going to really aid students
right
in the college experience, because like you see a lot of college TV shows, movies, like American Pie or Blue Mountain State.
They only worry about like the drinking, the party, and the fun stuff.
The partying and the fun stuff and all that kind of sex. But those of you in college know in reality it's not like that. There's a lot of serious things that go on.
Right.
And we're gonna try our best to touch on every single one of those things throughout the creation of the show, the development of the show.
Right. Well, look, we're at about an hour, a little over an hour here, so I think we're going to wrap it up for this time. Unfortunately, we probably won't have another one. Maybe we'll try and do another one, maybe a Skype one at some point in the summer. But if not, we're going to try for August to get going again.
In August again when we get back to school.
And it'll be once a week, every Sunday, uploaded by Monday morning to listen to, and we'll be covering everything from that week before. From shows to movies to pop culture news, music, all that kind of stuff. So come out and check us out, listen to us babble on about stupid shit and talk too much.
We also have an email address and a Facebook page. Dan, you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, so if you you want to reach out to us, tell us we suck, that kind of stuff.
Any topics you want us to talk about, anything you want us to cover, all sorts of things like that. The email address is
Geekkast. That's GEE, 2 E's, KKAST 2015 at gmail.com. And then you can actually look us up on YouTube and subscribe at Geekkast, that same spelling, Geekkast Network.
Yep. Yes. And we also have a Facebook page, which I think is just Geekkast.
Geekkast or Geekkast Productions. You can look, it'll all come up. So, and there's no space in Geekkast. It's all one word.
Yeah. So make sure you guys check that out. Make sure to reach out to us if you can and you want to. And we will be back when we are back.
Yeah. So thanks for listening and party on.
Party on.